directly to the client in Chicago in 3 days. So all of that, it requires a lot of working in the background. It just doesn't happen, especially we didn't have internet in those days. So it had to do through
Yeah.
fax. We had to do telex. We had to do with telephone. And a lot of time I had to fly myself to go there, whether it was Singapore or Japan, to convince the seller, look, we need this price, we need this copier. And in many cases, give you another example, there was a time for a few years I used to export used copy machine to India, to Pakistan.
Oh,
I had to sell these copy machines, and I used to get order all the time. So I had to collect this from all over the United States, contacting a lot of copy machines businesses or computer. We used to sell a lot of used laptops. So I had to collect, contact a lot of these big brokers, and whether it was monitor, whether it was laptop or keyboard or hard drive, we had to buy this and use and sell it overseas. Uh, so in other words, import and export. That's pretty much what I did.
okay, that's amazing. And so, that's a part where, you were establishing your business and growing your business. But in terms of clients, so how did you start acquiring clients for your business? Like, what going to trade shows one was one strategy, and what were your outreach strategies, and how did you acquire clients?
Okay, that's a good question. So what happened when I went to a trade shows? I when I got to this field, so I remember every companies, a lot of big companies, they had catalog. They had catalog that showed the product. So the product we buy, consumables, mostly are made in Japan. They're consumables for printers, for copier. They're consumable for computer. So what I had to do, I had to go and see, and these guys, they had big shows. They had a lot of people, but we were a small booth. And then I found out we have to have our own catalog. So what I spent many nights. I created a catalog. I created a catalog. The first catalog was like 30 pages. Then after that was 60 pages. So I pretty much hand printed all these items, like price, created price, description, and everything in catalog, and then I printed it, and then I sent this catalog to a lot of these people, whether they came to trade show or whether I had their address. So then they became familiar with our product. Because when I started selling in San Jose in 1993, there was not many company like us. There was just one company in Hayward, and they were not happy when they saw that I have a catalog. They came and they told
Mhm.
us, now we are competition. There was a company in Los Angeles saying, oh, the picture that you create on a catalog is like us. You have to take it out. So we went and created another different total picture. So nobody says, look, you copied us. So all of that was
Yeah.
outreach, create catalog, create special prices and brochure, and then weekly faxes, daily faxes, sending a special to customers that we have a special, but they all had our catalog. And some of them will stop in San Jose office as a will call to pick up supply. Some of them wanted to ship it to them in a different state, different city. But that catalog helped us greatly.
Okay, okay, that's amazing. And so, you created brochures, and there was these catalogs. But how are you attracting people to your booth? Like, did that involve conducting some sort of demos as well?
I'm sorry, what was the second part?
Yeah, so did that include conducting some sort of demonstrations as well?
No. So what happened? These technicians, like we were selling the software I told you about. A lot of these
Hmm.
companies throughout America, there are companies that they have 2, 5, 10, or 30 employees. They were selling office machine equipment, whether it was fax, computer, or copy machines. So all of these, they needed software, they needed hardware, and most important, they needed consumables. So all these consumables, they all have this. They come from the same manufacturer. They come from Japan, or they come from Xerox. Let's say Rank Xerox were from England, or they would come from like Germany. So the manufacturer is the same, but what happened? The product is the same, but the price was issue. So what I had to
Oh,
do, I had to find out all these companies in trade shows in Las Vegas and Germany, they're selling, let's say, this product for $20. I had to bring my price down to $17. and then say, look, we the shipping is also included. So in other words, bring it $2-3 cheaper for the customers who is already buying from these distributor to have incentive to buy from us.
Yeah.
So the product was the same. It's like you go. Let's say, let me give you an example. Let's say if you go to Nissan Automotive. Let's say you have a Nissan car and you need a part. It's Nissan. Nissan makes it, but everybody sells that part differently. You get it from
Yeah.
somebody. You get that price from some. If you buy it directly from Xerox, you buy a certain price. If you buy it from a different, let's say, dealers, you get a different price. So we were one of those dealers, one of those brokers. In those days, I used to usually call Parsia Trading Company. I was Parsia Trading Company. Then it became Parsia Copier Supply. So when we're trading company, I had to make sure that the product that people are already selling and buying, we have to offer the same product at a cheaper price and be able to deliver it faster. That's why they were able to
Yeah.
buy copy machines from me, although there were copy machines, there were big dealers in Chicago, but as soon as we started getting the copy machines from Singapore to Japan, then all of a sudden these guys started going the same route.
Okay. Okay. Great. And so, since you removed the middleman and you started buying products at a cheaper cost, and then you were able to sell it at a cheaper cost as well. So, how much were you able to grow the overall profitability? Like if we talk about year over year profitability, so on average, like how much were you able to grow it by?
So the first year was very rough because we had to break even. We had to get to know the clients. We had to spend money advertising and all that. But the second year, the profit is starting. So after that, the next 4 or 5 years, the profit increased by, I would say, by 10 or 15% each year. So then we outgrew. Then we started getting a warehouse. Then we started having more employees. But then, like I said, it did good. Then all of a sudden, when the .com came to effect, and then there was a lot of the companies that uh, what happened, like a lot of those copy machines, they were analog, they were not digital. Then all of a sudden, everybody who has those supplies, they become overstocked. So those supplies that you have for the copy machine that was working 5 years ago, 10 years ago, now it's not working. So we had to get rid of those. So a lot of people were dumping those. So all of a sudden, the industry revolutionized, became in digital. So when it became digital, then you have eBay, then you have Amazon, you have online marketing. So we tried to catch up with that, but like I said earlier, being a small company, I didn't have the capital to be able to to get to a speed at their level. That's why past 2 years, I that's why I went to school. I went back. I got my network management engineer, and then I went back to counseling because I knew as like 7 years ago, yeah, the business has slowed down. So that's why I went to a different field. But the
Okay.
productivity, the profitability went up the next 4 or 5 years. As soon as after the first year, went up by 10-15% each year.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so let's move towards the other aspects of your job. Like, so tell me something about the team that you built over the years, and if there were different teams or was there one single team?
The team of what?
Yeah, the team that you were managing, like for your business, like you said that you later had to hire people as well. So, yeah, so tell me something about that. Like, how did you build your team, and if there were multiple teams for different departments, or was there one team that was managing everything?
Well, the people that I had to hire pretty much, there was a category. They had to have the knowledge. We had different kind of people. They had the knowledge of fixing machines. I needed maintenance people because I had to send them to service calls. I had to, because we had to bring copy machines from overseas. People from that's when we imported. So people would come from Los Angeles very late or do the weekend to buy the copier or computer. We had to make sure we have expertise to work on these machines to make sure they are updated, everything is good. So when the client comes in, we demonstrate it in our showroom, and then they would pick it up, put it in the truck, and they take it. And if we had to sell copy machines to overseas or computer or laptop or let's say hard drive, we had team that when we bought these, let's say hundreds of we bought hundreds of laptops, so and so we bought desktop. we had to make sure that the team in there are capable enough to test this computer, make sure these hard drive, everything is formatted as it's supposed to be, and then we called the freight company, have it been picked up. So that. Those are the people that I had to deal with in maintenance. I had to deal with salespeople. The salespeople had to be able to pick up the phone, call, contact people overseas or domestically, and then marketing. We had to have people that they had to look for these products. We had people in those days, like I said, there was no internet, so it was cold calling. People had to call so many calls. So I had to, hire people with commission. I had to hire people with like 6 hours. You have to pay them salary and commission to make sure that they they
Mhm.
they understand the market, to be able to look for products, to be able to these products, they can buy it from all over, with the specification we needed, because we knew what our customer wanted. So they had the sheet in their hand, and when they found it, whether it was from a school district, whether so we bought supplies, like I said earlier, when a lot of, let's say, a school district or a lot of government agency, they had a computer, they have a copier that, all of a sudden they outgrown, they have a new machine now, they do not need these, become overstocked, so they want to get rid of it. So we used to buy those at very inexpensive price, and then we had to bring it to warehouse and send it to other customer. We had people constantly sending us a list that they were closing business, or they didn't need certain product. They would send us a list, then would give them an offer based on what they selling us, and then we buy it from them, and then we resell it. So that's so we had different kind of people to do different things, and I had to manage all that.
Okay, okay, perfect. And so, in terms of team, you said that, you needed, you had a maintenance team, then there were salespeople, and there were marketing people. And
Yes.
so, other than that, any specific team you had, or like these three were the key ones?
No, HR. We had to do HR. We had to do hiring. We had to hire
Yeah.
people. We had to make sure that these people are qualified to do. So HR was the main force of that. And then
Okay.
so the HR, we had to deal with HR, and then that's where acquisition comes in. Acquisition. So you have to find out talent acquisition people. You have to find out people they're talented, because some of these people that I work with, I never met them. Like I had people working in, let's say, in Florida, in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
but based on the resume they faxed me, I found out, and based on the phone conversation, I found out we can do this business.
Okay, okay, perfect. And so, so it looks like that you were managing geographically dispersed teams.
What was that? I'm sorry.
You were managing geographically dispersed teams,
Yes.
like they were operating all over the US or even overseas.
Yes.
Okay, and so which were the teams that you had to manage overseas? Like you had business in Dublin, Ireland, and Singapore. So did you have teams there as well?
Yes, the same thing, the same kind of people, like
Nice.
the same infrastructure. Like, for instance, if we had people in if we had people in Singapore, we had an office there. People in Singapore, they would, based on the direction they got from me, that they had to find out, um, find out. Let's say you have buyer in Russia, you have buyer in Malaysia that they want to buy certain products. They would give us requirement. They would say, well, this is the requirement, and based on that, so they bring us the buyer, and then we come up with products, and then we let them know, look, we got the products they want. So the same kind of team. It was a smaller cruise, of course, but that's all we needed to be able to connect us with buyer locally, or they knew buyer, let's say, in Indonesia, they knew buyer in India that they want a certain product. And let's say, no, there
Hello?
are crew. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, I lost you for a while.
No. So what I'm saying is basically that we got from overseas, whether it was Singapore or, let's say, in or Dublin. We knew, for instance, we have certain product that we have to deal with, and we were looking to buy those products to sell it overseas based on the requirement.
Okay, okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, and so you were the one who actually built all these teams from scratch.
Yes, I did all that from scratch. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And so, how many people were there or in total, like the number of teams you were managing?
So, like for in Singapore, we had in a given time we had like 4 people. In Dublin, I was working with the manufacturer. They had, of course, their own people, but
Mhm.
the manufacturer had like 50, 60 people that I had to deal with their marketing, and then I had to deal with the owner, and then I was dealing with people in Japan, in Taiwan through the Troy show that I've met them. So they were not directly working for me like in Japan. They had their own office, but I had to constantly talk to them. So I would say in a given time, I was talking like with 20 people overseas at least.
Okay, great.
And like say, for instance, in Dubai, so we went there in Dubai. We wanted to create a company, but because the requirement was too high and the weather was hot, we decided not to. But then there were trading companies that we were dealing with in Dubai. So there were a group of like 3, 4 people that they were always, constantly in touch, but they were not working for us. They had their own company, but I had to kind of like use their service as a subcontractor, for instance, to be able to um, fulfill our need, the products that we needed. So then we would buy from them or we would sell to
Mhm.
them.
Okay. Okay, great. And in terms of US, like within US, how many people were you managing?
Well, in US, the people we had, I think in a given time we had like, since we were a small company, we were like, I would say, we had to go trade show. It was uh, six, 6 or 7 people in marketing, sales, and all that, and that was the office that we had here in San Jose. But over
Mm-hmm.
other states, there were people that, like I said, they were working for us um, on a temporary basis. They were working based on the commission they make, based on sales they make, based on product they find. So we had like, I would say another maybe 3 or 4 people. So I would say at the given time maybe 10 or 12 people total in US. 10 people.
Okay, great. Okay, and since you had so many teams and there were people working in other countries as well, so how were you ensuring retention? Like, how were you retaining all these employees, or how were you ensuring that the turnover is low?
So exactly. So the people that were working for us, here, in the different states, they pick their own hours. We didn't care. So as long as they provided, the list that we wanted as far as the buyer, as far as they provided us the products we were looking for, we didn't know how many hours they put in there, but the whole purpose was the structure was based on what is the what is what is the um, what is the productivity? The productivity was measured by um, items they bought, by the number of items we could sell, and so we had to be careful to make sure that the money is spent to these people. Uh, it was actually worth keeping them. So obviously the bottom line was very important, and we
Mhm.
always managed that. We always managed that because a lot of the people that work with us, they found us a lot of good leads. They found that they did a lot of cold calling. So the products they located, then let's say they found us a list. Let's say from somebody in Florida, for instance, a big copy, a copy machine or print shop is going out of business. So we would buy those products, we would ship it to warehouse in California, and we would sell
Mhm.
it. So that product, that list, they probably spend, let's say, 5 hours. Let's say you probably pay them like let's say $300, but that product, that list, and let's say we bought that whole uh, pallet or 2 pallet, let's say for 2,000. We were able to turn around, bring another, let's say another 400, 500 for freight. The whole thing would cost us 3,000. We were able to sell this product for over 5,000, 6,000, almost like 40, 50, 60, 70% profit.
Okay, that's great. And so then, allowing flexible working hours and having a good compensation rate were your strategies to retain employees.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay. And so, one metric was that how much sales or how much items were being sold. But other than that, since you had so many teams and, they were operating globally as well. So how were you tracking their performance, or was there any mechanism in place through which you were assessing that if they were doing their job right or not, or how were you analyzing their work?
Yes. It's the way we did it. I think the best comparison is like this. Let's say right now, let's fast forward this to 20 years later or 25 years later. Right now, um, like people who work in certain company, as you know, some people are actually working from their home. They don't have to go to the
Mhm.
office. Why? Because they have everything on their laptop. Whether they're doing sales, they're doing management, they're doing marketing, their employer can tell if the employee who is sitting at home and does come to office maybe 2 hours a day, or doesn't come to office at all, whether they're traveling, whether it's long distance or whatever, they can tell the productivity by going online to see their account, how much they sold, who they've talked to, if they got a new account or not, right? That's how they perform, right?
Yeah.
Today. So that's why a lot of employees do not need to go. The way I did it in the old days, we didn't have a computer like this. You couldn't track everything laptop, but I could track by whenever I called them by send the fax and I got a response, and I knew if I have if I'm working with somebody who's serious, if I'm working with somebody who's active, if I'm not, because I knew based on the number of quotation I got from them, based on number of deals I made through, based on number of sales we made, we knew if the person who is working with us, let's say in Singapore or in Florida, is doing a job we want or not. But if, for instance, a person who was working any of these places, if he or she, you know, came up, let's say, with excuse, oh, I was sick, I didn't have the list, or I haven't been able to find anything, obviously we wouldn't do business with them again. But if we had somebody that would constantly send us lists through fax and call us, and whenever I called them, I found out they're there. They had answer for the question we wanted, whether we were looking for certain consumables, certain products, and then they've done their homework or not. So those were the measurements that we did. You talk about like uh, you know Six Sigma. You can say that, but you can say that through uh, finding out through the way that your employee or the person you were working with, maybe he was working for the other company too, maybe it was just a private contractor. If you knew that, for instance, you're getting the list of the supplies that you asked for in a given time, let's say in less than 24 hours, then he or she is doing their job. And if you were able to
Exactly.
get the list that you wanted, you were able to sell this product, you got a price, and the product was told as it is. In other words, was not damaged. In other words, was everything was in a box. It was good shape. When you brought it here, you found out, oh, everything came in one pieces. It's not like it was loose. So obviously, this person checked the product first. Um, so then we knew that we're dealing with somebody who's responsible, who's helping the company.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And so similarly, hiring could be a challenge as well, because there are teams operating in different countries as well, and in different states within US. So how were you able to hire people, since back then there was no internet or such service? And I would also like to know that so over the years, how did this hiring practice improve or change when there were different tools in the market?
Well, for instance, you remember I said when we went to trade shows. So when I went to trade show, we had our booth. So we had a lot of subcontractors. They would come over there. They would volunteer to work for us. They say, look, by the way, I live in Florida. By the way, I deal with a lot of people. I can be one of your agents, and I can provide you a lot of contact, a lot of products that you're looking for. Would you like to work with me? So they give us a lot of business card, and then we have lunch, we talk to them, interview them, and then I did talk to them after the phone and find out that yes, this person, he or she can do the job. And sometime I traveled, I went to Florida, I had to go to Chicago and talk to them about it. So when we had after we established relationship, and then the rest was easy because you could follow up to a phone call or going there to visit the company to see how they're doing. But there was time that obviously we had people that they would just come over to the booth or they would call us, say, I'm going to help you sell. and they were not serious, and then we were not able to do business with them. So throughout the years, I think the tool that helped us a great deal, like when we started having, like when we used to do cold calling in those days, there was the internet was not like here now. So when the internet was a factor, then we started say, okay, you know what, let's do eBay now. So we started selling a lot on eBay. So I said, okay, you know what, now it's surplus, so let's put the list on eBay. So we asked the people to create a list with catalog and picture description. We had a store on eBay, on Amazon, and create an online account. And then we had customers in New Zealand. They want to buy a product. You had customer in Malaysia. You had customer in Italy, because you have a product that everybody needs. The price, you just bring the price as low as possible. So up to even 2 weeks ago, like for instance, I had customer from Italy who wanted to buy a certain product nobody else had, because they Googled the product and they found out that we have this product on eBay. So that's how the tools help. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Okay, exactly. So in other words, what I'm saying is, like I said earlier, I like this last question very much, because if let's say you're an employer, you ask me that question, you say, okay, wait a minute, so you were able to successfully manage your business then, but now what happened with the technology change? So with technology change, we took advantage of it, even though